Hi, YouTube family. So today we are here with Valentine.
Hi, everyone.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, as you've heard, my name is Valentine. I'm from Kenya. I'm a tour operator. I run a tour company that's called Hills and Valleys Tours. So we do safaris in Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. But generally, we do Nairobi city tours, which are walking tours, and we do safaris in the national parks and other places. Then we do day trips. So those are like the three divisions of our tours. We also work towards having responsible tourism, where we engage in climate change and environment advocacy and charity work or events that help people like children who need school supplies, young people who need mentorship, because we believe in responsible tourism. Yes, that's who I am.
And that's actually how we met, you know. I love to support Black business. You know, I do tours too, but when I saw hers, I was like, oh, a city tour. I haven't done a city tour yet within Nairobi, even though I'm living here. So I wanted to do the city tour. She was the provider I found through Google. She had great reviews, and that's how we met. Great service, great tours. Everyone that works for her is like super professional. They know the city very well. So she's awesome. I'm gonna leave her information below.
Thank you.
And also, once we met, we found out that we had something in common.
Many things.
Yeah, many things, right? Ella también se habla español.
Sí.
Why do you speak Spanish?
Because I studied Spanish at the university. That was part of the requirements. You had to do a foreign language, so I did Spanish, and then I loved it. So after doing the Spanish 1 and Spanish 2, I started finding ways of improving my Spanish. So I'd listen to music, I'd watch videos and stuff. I even Googled friends online. I made friends online. They are friends I've never met face to face, but we've known each other for like 10 years just to practice my Spanish. Then eventually I married a Bolivian, and in Bolivia they speak Spanish. So I stayed in Bolivia for 4 years, and I improved my Spanish, which was good, and we came back together.
Vale. Okay. Yeah. So it's cool because I don't meet many people in Nairobi that speak Spanish. So now we talk in English and Spanish and Swahili.
Yeah.
So yeah, our little polyglot tribe. Very nice. So what I wanted to talk with you today about, because she has lived in South America, she's lived in Bolivia for years. So I'm going to play a clip right now for you guys, and we're going to talk about the new vice president of a country in South America that has a lot of African descendants. You know, because of slavery, there were a lot of African descendants that were taken, were stolen, and brought to Colombia. And now Colombia has just elected their first African descendant, vice president. So we're going to play this clip so you can see, and then we're going to talk about what we think about that.
Que hoy haya mujeres negras, hombres negros ocupando, sí, desafiando para ocupar el poder de este país. Que hoy haya mujeres negras, hombres negros ocupando, sí, desafiando para ocupar el poder de este país. Es un acto de justicia racial, es un acto de justicia para con nuestros pueblos afrodescendientes, raizales, palenqueros, para con los pueblos indígenas, que como bien lo dijo el Acuerdo de Paz, históricamente hemos vivido el racismo estructural, la exclusión, pero también de manera desproporcional los efectos, sí, del conflicto armado.
ser mujer en Colombia no es lo mismo si tú vives en el Chocó o incluso en el municipio al que has hecho referencia de donde ella es, y tampoco es lo mismo si eres una mujer indígena o si eres una mujer afrodescendiente. Y creo que Francia, digamos, en su historia personal y en sus discursos públicos, ha dejado muy claro que entiende que todas esas distintas variables se conjugan para agravar la desigualdad en ciertos grupos de mujeres, y creo que esa sensibilidad es algo que juega a su favor para el momento en que ella tenga la responsabilidad de llevar adelante políticas públicas para las mujeres.
So, yes, Francia Marquez. Yes. What do you think about her?
I'm so encouraged to see an Afro-descendiente who has actually vied for a position, an elective position, and gotten it, because at times when you're a minority, you get these positions as affirmative action. So people feel like you do not deserve it. But since she's someone who's proved herself, if you read her profile, she's been an activist since she was 13 years old. So this is someone who's been truly involved in her people's issues, and she's tried to make a change. And now that she's gone into one of the highest offices in the country, it means that you can see that a black Colombian who's an Afro-descendiente has the courage to try and make a change, which means that it will also be an encouragement to other Afro-Latinos, Africans across the world to just work harder and not give up. Because many Africans really work hard and no one seems to notice, but you realize that for her it's taken years and now it's been noticed. I feel like it's like another Obama moment, just that in South America. And it's a woman, because she's a minority, she's an Afro-descendant, she's a woman, you know, she's from a village that has like poverty and all these issues. So coming from such a disadvantaged position and vying for a big office and getting it is a real boost to the morale of many Africans out there. Whether you've been to Africa or not, you're still an African. You have the African blood, so don't forget about it.
Yes, and that's one thing I love about her, is that she identifies as African. You know, there's times where in some interviews, people will say, okay, well, you know, you say that you're not Latina, and she's like, pero no soy Latina. I'm not Latina. I'm Africana. We know exactly where we were taken from. We were taken from Africa and we were brought here. So you can look at her and see she's African. This is a black woman, and I love the fact that she identifies as a black woman. You know, and she's not ashamed, you know, or embarrassed about her heritage. There's a lot of so you were telling me that, like, in Bolivia, there's times where people that are clearly African descendants, they don't like to identify as African. Is that right?
Yeah, so what happens is that we all know most Africans who are outside Africa were taken as slaves. And the narrative that's shown about Africa is not something positive. Like now, let's say an image that's shown out there about Kenya is the hunger that happens and then the wildlife. So when people think about Africa, they think about poverty and wildlife, so they assume we are poor people without clothes living with animals. So when many Africans see that image, people of African origin, Afro-descendientes, it's easier for me to say in Spanish. When Afro-descendientes see that, they're embarrassed. They feel like, I'm from a place without anything. I'm from a place where you can only survive with wildlife and depend on aid from the West. So I had some Afro-Bolivian acquaintances and friends who they say they don't want to identify as Bolivians. As Africans, most of the Africans stayed in a place called the Yungas, Los Yungas. So they're like, I don't tell people I'm a Yunganya, I want to be a Yunganya because, you know, Africans have nothing. And even if you check where they stay, because I've been to the Yungas a number of times, it's a place that's less developed, it has less schools, it has less, let's say, businesses, so they are very disadvantaged. Even the accessibility is so hard. So you find that the fact that you're born in a disadvantaged place and then you're given a very negative history of yourself, you become embarrassed about who you are. But if you hear the truth and learn that Africa is not just about poverty and wildlife and aid, you realize that you have so much more to offer and to appreciate.
Yes, I agree, yeah. Do you feel like there's a lot of racism between, like in Bolivia, like let's maybe talk about Bolivia first and then maybe Latin America as a whole? Do you think there's a lot of racism between Afrodescendientes y other Latinos?
I'd say yes and no. The degree mattered, yeah, because there are certain areas where you find that Afrodescendientes and the native Bolivians and the others who are like the descendants of Spaniards, they stayed like normal communities where they intermarried and they stayed like happily. But certain sections would find that an Afro-Boliviano is not, you can see they don't have the same opportunity. So you find that what they have, even to present, is nothing much, because if it's universities, they have like one university, you know, such. But generally, I know Bolivia had an anti-racist law, which is very good, because people who showed racism would do it underground mostly. They wouldn't do it open, which was a very good thing. But there are places where people were not as conscious, they didn't care. And I remember as a black person in Bolivia, I also had mixed experiences where you go to some places, they're like, hola, ¿cómo estás? I say, ¿de dónde eres? They think I'm Kenyan from the Yungas. I'm like, no, soy de Kenya. In Africa, like, oh, eres Africana. Some are so excited, they want to hug you, they want to hear about Africa. Others are like, hola. Like, they're very mean. They don't even, you say hi, they don't even want to respond. And one of the experiences was, I remember in the aircraft between Brazil and Bolivia, I sat in an aeroplane next to a native, a cholita, and they don't like, that cholita is used as a diminutive word also against the native
people.
The native people.
Yeah, the indigenous
people. Yeah. So I sat next to Senora de Pollera, that's the proper name, yeah. And as soon as the flight took off, she went. Like, she didn't want to sit next to me. I was like, maybe she's going to the door or something. She didn't come back. So when I changed the flight, the same thing happened. Another lady, the Pollera, was sitting next to me, and she laughed. I was like, interesting. So I experienced two extremes. So some days were excited to see an African, others just didn't even want to say hi to you. They didn't want to walk with you. It's like they feel like the blackness will rub on you, which I think is very shady. But yeah, people are ignorant out there.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's you know, I feel like we have, in this day and age, you know, we have a lot of talk of POC, people of color. And everyone is like, oh, you know, people of color need to do this, people of color need to do this. You know, we need to unite, we need to make initiatives to uplift people of color. And they kind of try to lump us in as one. But the truth is, there's a lot of racism between people of color, you know? And it's always, we as Africans, as African descendants, we get the brunt of it, you know? So from what I see, I don't care if it's coming from Latinos, I don't care if it's coming from, you know, here in Kenya we have a lot of Indians, I don't care if it's coming from, you know, Arabs, other different, you know, whites, of course, but in general, well, if we're gonna just talk about just people of color, the people of color are still racist against Africans. That's what I see, you know, so I feel like, yes, it would be good, it would be ideal to unite with other people who have been oppressed, but what I see is that a lot of the people who have been oppressed are looking to oppress someone else. So it's like, it's a problem, and it always happens that we fall at the bottom of the totem pole. So yeah, it's just interesting, like.
I think it's because people use color in terms of the whiteness, should I use that term? Where the lighter your skin, the higher your ranking. So as you go down the scale, you find that Africans are like the darkest.
Claro.
So people who are in between, who have been discriminated against by lighter people, that now they discriminate the darker ones, and then they discriminate the darker ones, it goes down that way, which is not proper. Because at the end of the day, I usually say, we all have the same blood, red blood, so we need to learn how to appreciate different cultures, you know.
Yes.
Personally, I have friends from across the globe, different countries, different colors, different races. And it makes me appreciate the different races, but also as an African, be more confident in who I am, because when you realize you can actually interact with someone else just as a normal person and not see them as superior, you tend to appreciate yourself more and be more confident in what you do as an African.
I like that. Yeah, sometimes, I do think sometimes, you know, you have to maybe have these experiences with people who are not like you, or who are not African, to understand, wow, they're just like me.
Yeah.
Like, they're not special. You know,
They have the same issues.
The same issues. They make mistakes. They have poverty in their nations.
Yeah.
You know, they have corruption in their governments. You know, it's like you're not special.
Yeah.
You know, that's
I
it.
think it's because, you know, the fact that you haven't highlighted the positives of Africa, that's why we tend to focus on what's negative in Africa.
Yes.
But Africa has many good things. Africans have many good things. There are many Africans who are doing great things out there, just that they are not being highlighted. So as an African doing something good, you feel small and insignificant, and you're like, I'm the only one doing this, so I can as well give up. But then, if you go researching, reading, Googling, you find that there are many more Africans out there doing great things, and even greater things than people thought possible.
Right. I think that is very true. I think even what you said about researching, I think researching is important. You know, I think we have to start finding out more about ourselves. We have to start having the desire to find out more about ourselves. You know, we can't only rely on what we're taught because, you know, why would someone who's trying to keep you down teach you things to lift you up? It doesn't make sense. You know, so we're going to have to be the ones to have to start the desire and have the initiative to really go out there and find out things about ourselves. You know, because we're just not going to get them in school, point blank period. We even, you know, whether it's in the American education system or the British education system, like it's here in Kenya, neither is going to teach you about ways to uplift yourself as Black people. That's not, you can look at the name, you can listen to the name and see what they're going to teach you about. The British education system is going to teach you about them. We were talking about Mount Kenya before, and how are you going to say that this mountain was discovered by who? What?
Britain.
Some British person. Really?
What were the Kenyans
really
doing there?
So you mean that, you know, their great grandparents who were here and have seen this mountain day in and day out, they don't matter, right? No, and something's not discovered until the white man came and saw it. Like their eyes are better than ours or something. Like, it's ridiculous. This is what you will learn in their systems, because we have to even look at the name. It's the British education system. It's the American education system. They're not teaching us about ourselves. They're not. You know, if you look at any photo, right? You look at any photo of a group and you show it to, you know, whatever, a child, an adult, anyone, you show someone a group photo, the first thing they're going to do is try to find themselves. The very first thing. It's natural. So when we look at history and we don't see ourselves in history, what do we think that does to us? What do we think that does to our children? You know, we have to start finding out where we are set in our own history, because we're all through it. We know that we're the first humans, you know, and then to erase us from history like they've done, it's insane, right? So I really hope that more of us have the desire. First, before the action has to come, the desire, right? So I hope we have the desire to learn more about ourselves, you know, and really step outside of only what we've been taught, because we have to know we're not going to be taught all that is true and all that we need to know about ourselves, you know.
And something I like to say, that as we discover ourselves, let's not use it as now have a superiority complex where now I know myself, I'm superior to everyone else. Mm-hmm. Just know yourself as an African, find your place in this globe, because it's never either them or us. It's all of us in this globe, in this world, finding our individual place and our individual voices, where we can make the world a better place without having to step on someone else. Because there's enough for everyone. Just that we've been made to believe that if someone has it, another one can't have it, and that's why we have this competition. It's either that one who has on you know, it's either black or a white person, you know. But if you discover that there's so much the world has to offer, and an African can still have their place and prosper without either looking up to someone else or without stepping on someone else, we'll have a healthier point of view as we pursue ourselves, instead of now I'm out to pull these other people down so that I can shine. No, we cannot shine.
But do you think, okay, so for me, when I think about that, I don't even see that I really don't see us pulling other people down so much.
I know.
You know?
Just that at times people now get this attitude
Right,
where you're
right.
so angry at everyone else. You're
Right.
angry at all blacks, all white. You're angry at all Indian. You're angry at all Chinese. So at the end of the day, now you become a bitter person. You're
Right.
trying to find yourself, but
Right.
in bitterness.
Right.
So that's how you find that even guys who have risen up, instead of helping other people up, they're just stepping on others.
They're just bitter.
Yeah, out of bitterness. So it's us to be different because we felt what it means to be stepped upon. So when we get out there, we know how to treat people different.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah, I agree. I can.
if you put the
I can wrap
bitterness
it up.
in it, if you bring that bitterness thing, if you say we are not doing this out of bitterness, we are doing it out of the desire to know who we are and truly live as
Yes.
us, not as defined by someone else.
And I think that in general, when you are operating from a place of, it's a different spirit to operate out of bitterness and to operate out of just confidence in yourself. I think that if we as Black people, as African people, had more confidence in ourselves, certain things would naturally happen. Because what I do see sometimes is like I'm very big on supporting Black businesses. One reason is because what I see oftentimes people assume because the business is white owned, it's better. That's very frustrating to me because it's not so much about stepping on them, but it's about why is this business automatically better? It doesn't work that way, Like we have to first value ourselves just with the pure valuing of African minds, African people.
Believing in
ourselves,
well,
right? Certain things will happen. If I see value in African companies, then I will patronize them. I will spend my money with them. It's simple. It doesn't have to be about stepping on anyone. But first, we have to see the value in our own. If we only think that a company is good because it's white, we're overlooking the value in African companies. And it's one reason I'm so big on supporting African companies because many times people think, oh, well, it's African owned, it's less. That's not true. That's not true. So I think that we should just see the value in ourselves, our minds, our businesses, our talent. There's not this rank the rank that we've been taught, right? That everything that is African, everything that is Black is subpar. That's not true. We have to get that out of our minds, and one way we can get that out of our minds is by supporting Black businesses. Once you start to use Black businesses and services, you start to see, wow, that was great. I had a great experience. That was a wonderful restaurant. They make wonderful clothes. All of these things where it's just like, yeah, why was I thinking that this was subpar? It's not. We have to start seeing the value in ourselves.
And then I feel like most of these non-Africans have a competitive advantage. The fact that people already see them as better, they're likely to buy from them immediately.
Yeah.
So for us as Africans, you have to, since you're competing against someone who already has like a head start of 10 kilometers or even 100 kilometers, we tend to work harder to try and be smarter and provide better services, which means you'll be taken better care of by a conscious African compared to someone else who knows it's a given. You come to me, I'm the one who has this, So we tend to work harder to provide better services to just get that client, because the person will definitely go to that other person, so you have to find ways of getting them, so you work harder. That means that to support an African, you're also letting them enjoy the fruits of their labor.
Yes, I like that. But that's true, because if you have the option to choose from someone who is kind of blasé, whatever, about their business, and you have the option to choose from someone who is really passionate, works very hard, they know they have to go the extra mile for you in order to get those clients, I'm going to pick the person that goes the extra mile. And oftentimes that is the Black-owned company, that is the African company, because we know we have to, my mother always says, we have to work twice as hard to get half of what they have. So that work ethic comes into, your business, any business, practice, service, product, you're going to see it. So yeah, I'm very big in supporting us. Just in general, I want us to think highly of ourselves.
Yeah, that's the most important thing.
Because we're awesome.
Yes, we are.
Valentine, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Yeah,
I hope we'll see you again.
I hope so too.
Okay. I'm going to leave her info below. And please subscribe. You'll see the red button below there. Subscribe, like, comment, leave any comments, anything you want to ask Val, and we'll respond. We'll let you know. Okay? Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.
Adios.
Ciao.
Ciao.